I am so happy! And I am so relieved. No more Jerry Jones versus Dak Prescott. No more bad blood. No more bad shows for me on Undisputed. Finally, it's over. Did Jerry Jones just overpay for Dak Prescott? Yes, he did. Did he overpay for Zeke and DeMarcus Lawrence and Amari Cooper and Jalen Smith? Yes. Have they all made Pro Bowls? Yes. Am I happy they're still Cowboys? Yes. What was the alternative in this case? It was for Dak to get tagged one more time and play his way right out of town. He's the face of the franchise. He's the leader of the locker room. This way, for the next 4 years, I have a chance to win a Super Bowl. Next year, my team will win the NFC East. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Dak. Thank you, God. I'm back on the bandwagon. Thank you, my Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys?
Particular for someone like Dak, who the numbers bared out that he deserved to be paid in that sort of Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes level, which is what he was looking for at the beginning of the year. People wondered if that injury would sort of impact whether they could get a deal done.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, and I can't wait to hear the details of this contract, is how many years, right? Because a year ago, it looked like they were going to get the parameters of a contract down, but one side wanted 4 years. That was Dak's side. Right. The Cowboys wanted 5 years. Right. Then you add another year here, and now suddenly that conversation is it a 3-year deal? Is it a 4-year deal? Because you added that extra year?
Exactly.
That's going to be the big question here. We're going to find out with you got an interview?
Exactly. Ed Werder, in fact, right now is joining us on the phone. He joined us at the beginning of the show. I mean, how did we get this done? What's changed over the last 45 minutes? They were able to get this deal done, Ed.
Yeah, everything we had heard over the past week or so had indicated they've been making steady and continued progress on finally reaching an agreement on a contract that the Cowboys have been seeking since 2019 with their starting quarterback. You know, when they went to the 2019 season, Jerry Jones at that time said a deal was imminent. But then Dak got off to this incredible start. He was no longer willing to play for the money that they had been talking about. So we got franchise tag last year, the first quarterback in Cowboys history to play on the franchise tag, and only the third ever. And I think what's really important here, until we know more specifics as to the length of the deal and the amount of money that's involved, is two things. One, he becomes, in Jerry Jones's 33 years as owner of the franchise, Dak Prescott's only the second quarterback to get a second contract from the franchise, the others being Troy Aikman and Tony Romo. So that's significant. And then I think the most important thing is now the Cowboys know what they're budgeting going forward as they, begin free agency, restructuring contracts. They know what Dak Prescott is going to cost, and it's not going to be $37.7 million, which it would have been had he played a second year on the tag. This should provide them some stability at the quarterback position, and they can plan to create more talent around Dak Prescott and really address the defensive side of the ball where the real shortcomings exist.
Ed, we actually did get those numbers just now from Adam Schefter. It appears Dak Prescott has agreed to a 4-year, $160 million deal with the Cowboys. Again, there was some questions about guaranteed money and what that would look like. Guaranteed money, would he be in the Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes territory? Russell Wilson has the most guaranteed money for quarterbacks right now. So again, this is a deal that finally got done. We felt like this was about a year or two in the making, and it's certainly been solidified.
All right, we will have much more details coming your way as SportsCenter will continue later on tonight.
Is it a good sign or a bad sign that nothing has happened yet?
I think it's a bad sign, Skip. We all played the game as a child. T-tag. Tag, you're it. Freeze. You can't go anywhere, Skip. And I believe that's what's going to happen to Dak. They're going to put the freeze tag on him again, which means inhibits his right as a free agent to go test the market. I don't get, Skip. You put the tag on him on July 15th of 2020. And here we are in March of 2021, and what? Was anybody not thinking, say, well, damn, if we don't get something done, we might be in the same situation again? What you should have done when Dak was heading into his third season, Skip, start working on a deal. Because just imagine if you had got a deal done for $34, $35 million. Now, what a bargain that would be. But you wait to the very last minute. And I told you, Skip, you can't wait till everybody else starts setting the market and expect Dak to come in like, oh, yeah, that's a good deal right now. No. Those guys got 3-4 years left on their deal, and they're getting $34, $35 million. So Dak says, hold on, I got no years left. I need more than that. I just don't get the Cowboys, what they're thinking is, Skip. That's what's befuddling to me, is that we find ourselves, well, I find myself talking about it, but they find themselves in the very predicament, Skip, they were in a year ago. Is that, okay, here's the tag. I mean, if they're going to tag him, they're going to give him a long-term deal. At this point, you know what Dak is asking for. Either you go like, well, Dak, this is where we can go or we can't. And I believe they're saying, Dak, they know what Dak wants, because Jane Slater mentions in her article, Skip, it was right up under Patrick Mahomes, 43, 44 million. We know Patrick Mahomes got 45 million. So there's a general indication of where Dak is kind of heading. I don't believe they're going to get anything done. They're going to put the tag on him. And guess what? It's going to be a long, drawn-out process again. And you and I going to come in here and you're going to talk about it and you're going to throw your hands up in there and says, I don't know what my Cowboys are doing, because they had a whole year, actually had a year and a half to figure this out. And for some reason, they still haven't got it figured out yet.
Okay. To answer Jenny's question, I'm still holding out hope that this is a good sign, that maybe they're actually negotiating. And Todd Archer of ESPN has reported that, according to multiple sources, they have had talks recently.
Right.
And the talks have been, quote, good and, quote, positive. Okay. So what's happening?
Man, what you do this weekend? Man, I had a good time. Is everything okay? How's the family? Family's good.
Yeah.
Are we talking long-term deal?
Or not.
Exactly.
Okay, so the clock ticks toward what you could say is kind of a phony deadline, because all you have to do is place the hold on him with, like you said, a tag you're it deal. It's like, okay, we are required by NFL rules.
Right.
We have to do this by 4 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow.
Correct.
You can continue to negotiate past that.
Right.
But it is kind of an artificial deadline that could make you both come to the table and say, this is dragging on too long.
Right.
Let's compromise. So I am hoping against hope that at 3 Eastern tomorrow, they announce a big long-term deal. 4 years, 5 years, whatever it is. Now, some people are speculating Dak will only want 3 years, because last year he wanted only 4
years.
So is it down to just a 3-year deal?
It's getting shorter and shorter. Pretty soon, Dak only want a 2-year deal.
We're heading in that direction. I don't think that any deal is going to get announced. I think you're right that they will place yet another, this would be the second tag on him, at $37.7 million. But there is no way they will place a third on him a year from now, which would be $54 million. They're not going to do that.
Because that's, Skip, remember now, it's being reported that's what he wants the final year of his deal to be anyway.
Okay.
Is that he wants, 40 this, 40 this, 40 this, and then last year, 50 plus.
Okay, I got it. My gut is he's on his way out of town, that he's about to play on a final year's deal.
Yeah.
And it's good money, man. That's 37.7. That'll work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't feel cheated by that deal,
Yeah, and no
right?
state tax in Texas.
No.
But Skip, don't you feel like at this point, everybody is dug in and nobody wants to budge? It's like we're playing tug of war, and both sides are just like, we're exhausted, and can't nobody gain and look like what it seems to be an advantage.
Yes, I believe that happened. But you failed to note that back in September of 2019, this is going back a ways now.
Right.
Jerry Jones said after game number 1 at Jerry World, a win over then the woeful New York Football Giants.
Right.
He said a deal with Dak was
imminent.
Imminent.
Yeah.
And somebody said, imminent meaning what? And he said, hours, days.
Yeah.
He was talking about hours or days. Okay, that's imminent, because he had just gotten Zeke to come home from Cabo to sign the biggest deal any running back in football had at the time. So Zeke was back in the fold. We thought a happy camper, wasn't going to quite live up to the deal, but Dak, we thought, was about to follow him in line and get a big new deal that would be worthy of how he had performed so far.
Right.
Well, guess what happened? He had a new agent named Todd France. And Todd France said, man, you played really well. Let's maybe wait a couple of weeks and see how you play next week at Washington. And he played great at Washington. Let's see one more week. Let's see how you play against Miami. Then they were the Pits, man. They were the worst team in the league at that point.
They were tanking for 2 at that point in time.
They were tanking for 2. And they tanked for Dak, too, because Dak lit them up.
Yes.
So he had 3 weeks of the best football any quarterback had played against what you dismissed as garbage competition, right? But 3 weeks of that he had. And his agent is saying, wait a second, we didn't ask for enough money. Well, Jerry thought you had agreed on the money.
Right.
He thought you had a verbal handshake,
Right.
kind of the way they do it in Texas and Arkansas, your word is your bond.
Right.
He thought you had that kind of
Right.
deal, Todd, and you didn't.
You did not.
You jerked that old proverbial negotiating rug out from under a
Right.
guy who doesn't want that rug jerked
Right.
out from under him by anybody.
Yeah.
And once you do that to him, it is hard to get him back to the table.
Right.
Because he thought you had something that you agreed on and you didn't agree. So then everybody kept saying, well, Dak is betting on himself the rest of the year. What happened over the last 13 games? He did not live up to my lofty expectations for Dak's performance.
Right.
He had a bunch of bad games. You gave him Fs for 7 out of those 13 games. And I thought he bet on